can see this coming in there. Peke's desperately up towards the Nexus. Kevin is going to be able to get towards him. He's trying to do it, but meanwhile they're in the base.
I don't have many examples, if any, really, where I would tell you I would go back and do things differently. I wouldn't, because those mistakes have built who I am today. And it's a very cheesy thing to say, but it's the reality, you know? Like, I wouldn't change the back door.
He's very low. They're pushing on the Nexus.
I think it's the greatest thing that happened to me. If I up, then I can't go back. You know, what's the best thing I could have done is not up. What's the second best thing I can do? Well, learn something and move on, right? That I can do.
Carlos, we're here in New York City. It's great to meet you, first of all. First time I'm meeting you. I've been wanting to talk with you for a very long time. You are a fascinating figure in esports, and I can't wait to dive into your life. But the first thing is, we're here in OS, we're here in New York City. You've been in New York City a lot lately. So I have to ask, G2, New York City, office is opening, you've been here a lot. What's going on?
Well, first of all, the OS space looks actually unbelievable. I saw it before they ended it, they finished it.
Yeah.
And
back when it was a Chinese restaurant.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty good. So yeah, lately we're coming here. I'm coming here every month, at the very least for like a week. So let's say a week a month approximately. Then one every 2 trips, I'll go round trip to LA, maybe San Francisco, LA, and get some stuff done as well. At the end of the day, I'm at home with my family. Let's say on average 13 days a month. The rest of the days I'm tournaments, traveling around Europe as well, and so on. So traveling a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, New York is one of our big sort of focuses for 2020 and onwards. What we've seen is that a big portion of our fan base is from North America, and it's not like we're catering to it too much, if at all, physically. You know, like there's no pop-up stores in US. There's not a lot of events we do in the US. It's just that people are demanding that we increase our presence here. So that's what we're doing. And we're doing that through, we just opened a gaming house for our Rocket League team here in New York. It's our plan to open a creator house in New York as well. And trust me, we're not going for small-time creators. We're going for the big. And I'm moving here myself with my family, with my wife, with my son.
When do you plan to do that?
Still this year, Q3, let's say. Maybe I'm being a bit too optimistic, but let's say worst case Q4. As a matter of fact, next month I'm coming with my wife, checking all the areas and so on. So yeah, this is happening. It's moving forward. As you guys probably read, we have the owners of the Nets invested in G2 as well. Also, he's one of the 3 founders of Alibaba. So we have also China covered there. So honestly, we're just doing the big play. We wanna. I've always envisioned G2 as a global media entity, and being increasingly in New York and in North America in general is just a part of the process.
Why New York in particular? I mean, New York isn't, at least traditionally, hasn't been a capital of esports in North America, right? But whenever G2 is talked about with New York, the vibe is we're going to take over New York, right? So like, why was New York so important to you?
I mean, look at this vibe from LA. I love LA. I love the weather of LA. I'm Spanish, so you could argue that the closest non-American place you can find to South California is Spain. It has to be. But on the other hand, I like to get done. And it feels like every time I speak with somebody from LA, and this is very often the case, it seems like these people are busy saying they're busy. That's how they get busy, That's not us. We get done. We understand, how to make people, how to relate to people through content. And honestly, it's just the energy. Like you look at New York and you're like, okay, Carlos, this is a New York type of guy, I like high energy, I like high octane, just, Monday morning, bam, 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 everybody working, everybody doing things, getting done, no bull. That's New York for me. And we will hope to represent New York the best way possible. And no team seems to be capitalizing on how great this city is. Even CLG, who got bought by Madison Square, by the MSG guys, they're not using it. And honestly, I don't think they can use it. I don't think they're neither equipped nor have the ambition required to take over New York. So I will. New York Excel guys seem to be like a good bunch, but the reality is that they have no idea what they're doing. So this is just very clear for me.
Obviously, New York is a big focus for you, but many people know G2 for the League of Legends team. One match away from the Grand Slam. Sitting here now, several months removed, as the season gets started, how do you look back on Worlds?
Worlds was actually great, man. Like, first of all, how the group phase started, everything happened in Berlin as well, which is where we have our headquarters right now. All the warmth of the people. Like, so Berlin and German viewers in general don't tend to get too hyped, They're just the culture, right? They don't just yell too much. But if you got into that Berlin venue, you could hear people roar, and for G2 actually. And it wasn't quite the same with every other EU team, right? So we just brought the heat, and it just made me so happy. So there's a lot of good moments. And then we went into Madrid, which is my hometown as well, and we beat the two Korean teams that everybody thought would beat us. We beat the Scream Gods, and we beat the Gods themselves as well. So and seeing that happen in front of my eyes in Madrid, my hometown, this place where I went to a lot of concerts when I was younger and stuff like that, and seeing all the warmth of the Spanish people, just like it was like the stadium was shaking. Like, you could see when people were like going crazy how everything shook. It was unbelievable. And every time I would just go out and just say hi, it would just be like madness, Those moments, neither myself nor anybody from the G2 army will actually forget. And yeah, we lost the finals in Paris, sucks. But, focusing on the positives, that was just unbelievable. And on the other hand, maybe you ask me a year from now, would you have changed anything from that final in Paris? Maybe I would say no a year from now, because maybe that loss, re-energized the motivation to remain as a team and to actually get this one task done.
Right. And that's such an important factor. You've talked about it a lot in the past, right? Team chemistry, motivation, and passion. It feels like more than ever, really, right now, this team could be at its all-time high in terms of motivation because of what happened in the finals at Worlds. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, I don't see a single sign of, that chemistry being over or decelerating. It's the very opposite, They want to spend as much time with each other as possible. We just went through to the Red Bull facility where they did a lot of these tests, physical tests. They were together for like 3 days, and it was amazing, And they bonded, and now when you see them stream, which they're streaming a lot for some reason right now, you see them doing push-ups for every death they have and stuff like that. It's very cool, And so we have fine-tuned a couple of things that we thought could be improved. We have the new manager, Oliver. He's the legendary manager from the 18-0 Fnatic era, and then the OG, 2 times the international winners. So he and this guy is Oliver. Just knows what's up. He's been with OG is the same kind of team as G2. This is the 2 most unique teams that exist, I think, in esports right now. Is the 2 teams that seem like they don't care. That's, they play so free, so loose, they have fun, they just love the game, they love the craft. It's like 5 Leo Messis, really, like they just love the craft, and that's OG and G2, and Oliver, has spent time with OG as their manager, and now is with G2, and the brand fit and the culture fit is so high. So a lot of these things have been fine-tuned. We will be a better team in 2020 than we were in 2019. And this lineup, this role swap we did between Perks and Caps, right?
How did that start?
Yeah, they both talked about it and was like, want to do it? Yeah, why not? And that's what you get when you have a team that likes to have fun. What's the worst case scenario? That it doesn't work, it goes back to normal. They have a little bit of fun in spring split, which is not bad because then you have summer split as a revulsive.
So is that confirmed? Like you're expecting them to switch? Yeah, okay.
No. So Perks right now is in the mid,
yes,
and Caps is at like 80 carry,
okay,
right? That is confirmed, 100%.
Okay.
And so it can go both ways. It either doesn't work at all, in which case it's great because we have the summer split. They will re-swap then, and then we have like a revulsive mental edge over, like, okay, now the real starts. Or it works, and then whatever we pick, you don't know where the is going, and who is gonna play what, that's the best case scenario. And last year, we completely changed the game in regards to what's played bot lane. And this year, I think we can change the game in regards to how the game is played and who goes where. I think this game, and honestly, majorly, and I take no credit here, is the players' credit. Majorly thanks to these players, I think they're changing the way League of Legends is played. Like, I think it's very likely that if this team keeps being together and they're motivated to be together, I think we will see every single year that the game becomes more and more loose, and more like there's no roles and everybody moves everywhere and like it's like chaos,
Interesting.
Controlled chaos. I think that's gonna happen if this team keeps being together. Yeah.
Do you think when you look at what Perks did, right? Played mid lane for so many years, then switches roles for the betterment of the team.
Uh-huh.
When you look at your career, do you think that you would have been able to do something like that in your playing days?
Yeah, I think so. I think Perks and I are very similar in the way, in terms of mindset. I think that Perks is better than I ever was as a player, but it's also a byproduct of course, the game has grown, has upgraded. People are better now, so when when Perks is playing against better people, then it automatically gets better relative to how good I would be, right? So in general, I think that having Perks is a big plus. We understand each other to a very deep level, really deep level. Like, even before Christmas, he was sleeping at my home, and we spent hours and hours together talking about nothing related to League of Legends, talking about his life, talking about his personal stuff, and I feel like it's somebody that is willing to learn, and I'm mentoring him in every way I can, and
Do you see him one day as an executive in G2?
Possibly, yeah. Why not? Oh yeah. I don't hide it to him. I'm like, listen, if you would really want to learn, he has attitude for sure, and a lot of the attributes and skills that you learn as a player, you can actually use as a manager. Actually, as a matter of fact, most of of the biggest traits I have as a player, as a CEO, come from being a player. The leadership, the decisiveness. I remember making calls, go Baron. It was the wrong call, but if everybody listened to me and followed my call, it maybe have become the right call, right? Just because if everybody does the same thing, even if it's the wrong thing, it's better that two people don't do it and three that do it, right? So decisiveness, relentlessness, understanding branding, right? Understanding how to build your own brand. So a lot of things, he's got it right. And if he's willing to learn and grow and take feedback, criticism, and be told that sucks, like 1,000 billion times over the course of a few years, then he can become really, really good. So why not? Yeah, I'm open to that idea.
I want to talk about two facets of Carlos here. I want to talk about Ocelot the player, and I want to talk about Carlos the executive, especially today, because you've gone through this incredible roller coaster in esports, right? There was a point in time where you were one of the most vilified characters in all of esports, not just League of Legends. And now you're one of the most loved. And I want to go through that roller coaster, especially now under the lens of being a veteran, someone who has been an executive for a few years, a parent, like things change in life, right? One thing that you said that I found very interesting was you relish your successes much more years later when you think about them than when you are in the moment.
Honestly, I think it's both a curse and a blessing. The fact that, like, I don't take pictures of good moments, and if I do, it's just because somebody tells me or something. But I don't like save pictures of good moments, or like pictures of my son, or like videos of my son, or of videos of me racing trophies, or videos of other, my team's racing trophies. I don't rewatch a lot of stuff. Movies I like, I don't tend to rewatch either. And I think there is a reason for this. It's because and I try to learn it. I try to understand why that is, right? It is because I don't feel good feeling good about things that I did in the past. I want to feel good by doing better and repeating those moments in the present, right? So I don't ever want to look back and feel good about myself from my own past. I'd rather look at something from the past that was really bad and be like, and compare it with today. I'm like, okay, I'm doing a good job. Keep doing what you're doing, right? I want today's success, not yesterday's success. I don't give a about yesterday's success. I really don't care. And I'm tying this all out with my brand and how people perceived my brand. I mean, I will not blame the people for having not liked me in the past, because it's obviously on me. When you have high confidence, I very historically had high confidence, and I still do. But I lacked the usage of empathy. Then it's a bad weapon, because you combine this cockiness with a lack of understanding for the people that's in front of you, and that comes out very arrogant. And that has happened in the past, and then people cross you for that reason. But life goes on. You learn that you shouldn't feel bad about the way you are, and I am a very empathetic person. At some point I was embracing not showing any emotions, That's bad, Right now I embrace showing emotions, I embrace it who I am. I embrace the fact that I am disorganized, unstructured. I don't care. I have other good things, other strengths that I like to focus on. And so as a result of that kind of thought process, very deep thought process, I came to the conclusion that I should embrace my empathy, how empathetic I am. And I should embrace that I have very high self-confidence. And you put both together, and all of a sudden you become somebody that people like, Is Tony Stark arrogant or cocky? Yeah, absolutely he is. But is he hated by anybody? I mean, somebody must hate him, but not many people, He's likable, he's a likable superstar. Deadpool, right? Same story. He's cocky, but the reality is that everybody likes him, And he just kills people, he does a lot of atrocious stuff, but people still like him, because he uses that empathy to connect with people. And I know I'm talking about fictitious characters, but to me it's the same.
When did you realize that you needed to make a change?
There wasn't like a moment where I thought I had to make a change. This just goes by moments, Sometimes I would feel like, look, I feel like I'm lacking empathy, so I have to work on that. And then you work on that. It takes years. It takes actual years, to come. It takes humbling moments, It takes, I've gone through a lot of personal hurdles that had nothing to do with how good or how bad I did things. Life happens, right? And then that humbles you. I mean, you can take it two ways. Either you feel cynic about it and just feel bad, my life is terrible, blah, or you take it kind of like if you do judo, you use the momentum against the opponent, right? And you learn something out of it. And these moments actually did humble me, family things that life, and I use those moments to learn, to sort of become more mature. It's that simple. That's why having a son, having a family, choosing to care for somebody is just to me so crucial. It gives me the edge, It draws me down to earth after having raised the trophy. It brings me to reality, not this blink blink. Americans love this thing, this blink blink, courtside tickets and stuff. I don't give a right? To me, it's meaningless. What matters is the work you put out every day, and what happens as a result of that work. And you today, then do better tomorrow. People have very short memory, really short memory, really, really short memory, for good reason, because they judge you today. Right now, Fan Plus Phoenix, they just won Worlds, right? The moment the leagues start and they lose a first game, half the world will doubt them again, just because there is always tomorrow, for sports, for life, for everything. I will always get judged by today's standards, and that's how I judge myself as well, not by how much I won in the past. Doesn't matter, useless.
Oftentimes when people become parents or just reflect on their past, they often want to repair relationships or right wrongs, right? So when you look back on your past, is there anything out there that you say, you know, I want to repair this, or I did go back and repair it?
Yeah, some things the reality is that when you go back and repair stuff, it's for your own good. Because the person you did something to probably doesn't even remember, or like, you know, doesn't feel as strongly about it. But I don't have many examples, if any really, where I would tell you I would go back and do things differently. I wouldn't, because those mistakes have built who I am today. And it's a very cheesy thing to say, but it's the reality, you know? Like, I wouldn't change the backdoor that happened to me for any, and I know exactly what I would do different. Trust me, I played that in my head for 1,000 times. But
how do you look back on that today?
I think it's the greatest thing that happened to me.
Really?
The greatest thing. That moment told me, I'll you up at some point, from a competitive standpoint, right? That moment told me, one day, I will destroy you so hard that nothing that happened will be repeated again. And as a result, I mean, you see, Origin, right? I literally beat them in ULCS, and then I bought their 2 best players just because it wasn't enough to beat them. I had to massacre them. I mean, it's competition.
And the genesis of that was that one backdoor?
No, it wasn't the genesis, but it was like, it's a combination of things, right?
Okay.
Moments like those make me realize, holy I hate losing, you know? You wouldn't know how nice the sun is, a sunny day is, if you wouldn't have rainy days with, you know, a lot of cold, you know, you forget your jacket, feeling miserable. Then the sunny day all of a sudden is like, ah. So I'm learning to, like, all these moments, you know, allow you, make you learn that bad moments are good. And I'm now, when I have bad moments, I mean, nobody enjoys bad moments, but I'm at least mature enough to look at them from the outside and be like, okay, this moment will shape who I am in the future. Let's soak it in, you know, soak it in. I suck. Oh my God, I f***ed up. I lost this player, I should have picked it up. Yes, understood. Not gonna happen again. And now I become a relentless machine where there's like nothing, there's not one thing except my own death that can happen to me that will break me. I'm unbreakable. Nothing will happen that will break me. Impossible.
How do you look back on, speaking of the backdoor, how do you look back on the Clásico, the rivalry there, Expeke in particular, the rise of both of you in that era? How do you look back on it today?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's always good to have, you know, just like Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, right? When you have somebody that you're always facing and you're both getting better out of that, you know? Out of that, you know, Habib, Conor, there's a lot of examples out there, right? But that competition just brings the best out of people, you know? You can't, like, you can't be a legend without having somebody in front of you that is just doing things so well that is keeping you on your toes all the time. Because human nature just goes for the path of least resistance, you know? If things are good, you're number one, you tend to rest on your laurels a little bit, you know? You tend to like be a little bit less creative. You know, necessity makes these breakthrough moments. When you need to survive, when you need to do something, then you get creative. I mean, that's human race. That's what it is. So I enjoy I enjoy competition. I enjoy when there's like even playfield. Is that how you say it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, even playfield. Same rules. I want to beat you, you know? You don't die. Nobody dies. This is a game, you know? But it's a game that when I beat you or you beat me, I'm already getting better, you know, mentally, as a human, as a whatever it is, you know? So I love this competition. I love to have beef against other team owners. I love when another team just kicks my ass and gets the player I want. And I don't go like, oh my God, they have so much money. Oh my God, they have, no, I just go for solutions, you know? What could I have done differently, you know? I just break, like, I'm so self-critical. And I think that's great, you know? I feel like miserable for like 2 days, miserable. And then, you know, bam, then it clicks on me. Okay, I should have done. Won't happen again.
Compare that to the backdoor moment. So in that moment,
yep.
How much did you stew over that before you were able to allow yourself to get over
many
it?
Nights. And I lost a lot of confidence as a result of that, because I was the wonder boy, and then all of a sudden he was the wonder boy, and then as a result of that, my plays were not as optimal. Sometimes I would play too aggressive to sort of compensate for my lack of aggressiveness. Sometimes I would be too defensive because I would be too scared, because of that lack of confidence. Lack of confidence is the worst that can happen to you. Worst thing. Like, if there's one thing I would tell anybody to fix, is like just find self acceptance, love, whatever it is. When you have this deep understanding that doesn't matter what happens, you're carrying yourself with you everywhere. That's the ultimate goal. Like, it doesn't matter what happens. I lose everything. G2 goes bankrupt. I lose my money. My wife leaves me. My son hates me. Whatever. I don't care. I'll fix it. I'll get back on top. How long is it gonna take me? A few months. I don't know. Maybe a few years. I don't know. But I will, because I'm carrying myself with me. I am the valuable asset.
What would you say, looking back on it now, what would you say was your biggest accomplishment as a player? What's the one memory that comes to your mind?
Biggest accomplishment as a player, there's a lot of moments that come to my mind, but I think that staying on the same team for a long time and becoming a franchise player is one of the best things I've done. I think that people overestimate the short-term gain of being a mercenary. What you're doing it's like having 35 sponsors. Yeah, right now you're gonna get paid more, but your brand equity is gonna decrease as a result. Same goes there. The first move you make, everybody's talking about it. Second move you make, a little bit less people. Third move you make, a little bit less people. And it goes like this. Whereas me being in SK Gaming for 5 years straight set up a pretty good, like, it allowed people to. So it allowed people to judge me as the player I was, and it allowed people to judge me as as the captain of that team, and the moves I made within the team. It allowed my team owner Alexander Mueller to know me better and commercialize me better. It allowed sponsors to see consistency, which for them is crucial. Players don't understand. Like, when you are part of a team and then move to a different team, and then there's no loyalty whatsoever, and then you move to a different team, like, brands are looking at all of this. Do you think that Red Bull will sponsor somebody that they know will or might flip very easily? Nobody wants to do that, because you're investing, as a brand, you're investing in that somebody that you hope will last for a long time.
It's interesting you say that, because you look at the current G2 roster and you have players with some longevity, Perks being a great example.
Look at Perks, for example. Like, you just look at the most successful people. Faker, esports people. Faker, Perks, Yersin. It's no mistake. It is not mistake. It's very, very simple. That loyalty gives you an extra layer of, I don't know how to call it, but it's consistency. Mm-hmm. Consistency is good. And brands like that, fans like that. As a player, the fact that you don't have to think where I'm gonna play next year, that's a big plus. Like, that takes a lot of mental space. If you don't have to think about that, just play the game, just build your brand, create content for the team, make fans happy, enjoy life. Just be good at the game.
So let's transition from Ocelot to Carlos now. The executive, So do you remember the first time you ever thought about wanting to create your own team?
Yeah, I remember. So I was in a cab, and I was with some of my teammates. I can't remember who was it, but I think it was Nupe, Wicked, like very long time ago. And I was like, I don't know, man. I feel like I could do things better than the current teams. The content is very lame. I don't know. It just didn't feel like premium. I feel like many things could be done better, around branding, around building something. And that was, that ignited my thought. And then eventually, on my 5th year as a player, I started to have dreams about, instead of me raising trophies, like my players, my teams raising trophies. And instead of me, it was more about just build something that would last my career, and that I can lead. Also, I wanted to learn different things, when you do the same thing over and over, like 9 years playing video games professionally, I don't know, at some point it gets old, Many people are like, do you miss it? I don't miss it, no. The 9 years is like a hammer, bam, 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 tournament, bam, bam, scream, bam, bam, scream, bam, bam, screams, tournament, bam, bam. Holy at some point it's just over it, So I wanted to build something. Now as a CEO, I do a lot of things. I do marketing, I do sales, I do investment, I do corporate real estate, I be legal, I do everything, And some things like more, some things like less. And thankfully, as the company gets bigger and better, I can choose these things better. More and more PR, more and more content, more and more branding. The last 2 years, the brand of G2 has been amazing, and all of this is just me focusing on the right things, me hiring the right people, and then as a result, no longer being about me, so being about these people that are doing an incredible job within the company. Yeah. So we have an insane staff team. It's unbelievable. Like when I look at the way G2 is structured right now, it's like it's too safe in the sense of everything is well taken care of. There's no ifs. The strategy of the company is on point. If something goes wrong, we have the ability to pivot. We have the right people with the right mindset, the right attitude, being proactive and always ready. I'm so happy in that regard, so happy.
Where was at the time that you started thinking about this, right? When you wanted to create your own team and when Gamers 2 is born, where was your reputation at that time?
My reputation by the time I created Gamers 2 was, maybe at an all-time low, because when you're a player, you're judged by today's standards, of course. And by that time, I wasn't the best player. And my team wasn't doing that well, SK Gaming. I remember we lost in playoffs against Alternate or something like that. And we were playing for relegation all of a sudden, holy which then we still, the guys still requalified. But it was at an all-time low, and I still did it. I literally spent all my money. I took all my money and put it in the company, and I owed taxes as well, which is pretty stupid. I don't recommend this to anybody, but I owed taxes, and I put the money, including the taxes I owed 6-7 months from that moment, into the company. So I bootstrapped it with what I earned, and the main reason was because I said to myself, you want to learn? Then you learn, Put your money in, jump into the pool without knowing how to swim.
Was there any concern, like, all the labels that you had at the time, which you don't anymore, being toxic or this and that, people not thinking you are a good person or whatever it was. Was there any concern that Gamers 2 would fail?
Oh yeah, always. And whoever tells you they don't have doubts is just completely in the wrong. Everybody has doubts, Even I doubt myself nowadays. I'm like, am I full of But that's good, It's like I have these two Carlos, I always had these two Carlos with me. It's like, Carlos, you suck. Like, well, you have to do this better, that better. Yeah, but things are going pretty well. You just won this and that, and your company is worth this much. You have this amount of money in your bank. It's not. It's going well. Yeah, but come on, dude, you can't compare this. There's like people out there with billions of dollars in the bank. Some people are doing much better than you. You want to settle for this? Yeah, but come on, it's like this constant struggle between the two voices. Like, what about Disney? What about Disney? It's a multi-billion-dollar. Well, see, what about Disney? Why don't you want to build the next Disney? You thinking small or what? So it's like a constant struggle between these two voices, And back then I had the same struggle. It was like, yeah, your brand right now, all-time low, nobody believes you can make it. And the other guy said, oh, you're good, remember those plays you made? You can build a team that can win, that can blah, blah, blah. And then I ended up creating it. Yeah. Because that hesitation, and I've learned that throughout my life, is like the best way to shut it out is just starting, just get started, just jump. The fear, it's like when you want to get into a pool and it's too cold, you're like thinking, oh my God. But if you just don't think, just jump, that's it. Only when you don't want to wake up, I have this rule from many years ago. I created a rule that is like, when I wake up, doesn't matter the time. If I want to wake, if I have to wake up, right? Or it's good that I wake up, I will just count from 10 to 0. 10, 9, 8, and when I get to 0, it doesn't matter what happens. Doesn't matter what pain I have anywhere. You just wake up. That's a rule I have, and it works. My job is not to think; it's just to do. So that's what I did. Just don't think, just start, and that's what I did. And a lot of doubts, around my ability to lead a company, around you only played games in your life. What do you think you are now? Like, what is this? Steve Jobs?
So who did you turn to? Like, who were some of your early mentors that you really leaned on?
Well, so I think, books. I read an insane amount of books, of all kinds of books. Self-help, which they call them, right? I read books about management styles. I read books about autobiographies, biographies about successful people. I read everything I could read. I was consuming books like it was like 1 book every 3-4 days, like a strong book, and just learning, like not just rushing through it. I was like learning, just stopping down, thinking about it, keep going, bam, and then on top of that is Jens Hilgers, which is the founder of ESL. Mm-hmm. He's my co-founder in G2, and he's been an insane mentor for me. We're so different, so incredibly different. He's like super German, I'm super Spanish, but I've learned a lot of amazing stuff with him, like technical stuff, actually technical, like how to build a company, how to hire people, sharing with me standards, basic principles, and then on top of that, the value of just putting the work, the value of focusing on something. Like every time I travel to the US, there's like blink thing, It's like, everybody you talk to is on 1,000 things. Yeah, I'm producing this show, and I'm advising this company, and I'm the CEO of John Wick Industries, and whatever and it's like they're doing 1,000 things at the same time, and you're like, oh, you get FOMO, You think you're missing out on a lot of stuff, and then you go home, and you're just by yourself on that Wednesday night, and you have to solve the problems. And there's no blink there. It's just get the job done. And then a few days after, you see that guy you were talking to, in reality, was full of He has no job. He's applying for your company, as a matter of fact, for some, I don't know. So at the end of that, you just realize that focus, that doing the work, spending the time, there's no magic, dude. There's just no magic.
Hard work.
There's, and I believe in talent. Yeah, you can have specific talent, but the reality is that it doesn't matter. You just need to put in the work, And he taught me a lot of these principles. Some of them I might have known them from inside, and he sort of reminded me of those. Some of them I definitely had no idea about, and he just showed me. He's a fantastic mentor. I really love him. And the other mentor I have nowadays is Peter Musha, which is our COO. He's a corporate guy, comes from background Adidas, Universal Music, etc. And the guy is, he's showing me the value of giving people freedom, but still holding them accountable to the targets, right? Which there was a sentence. I actually wrote this down on my notes. You should know about me. I write my notes.
Do you take inspirational quotes
and
put them?
I take all kinds of quotes. So I was listening to Joe Rogan's podcast with Robert Downey Jr., which is very recent, and Robert Downey Jr. said, "Faster alone, farther together," which is exactly the principle that I've learned recently. Which is that you could be, this could be Carlos' show, right? And I would be very fast, very nimble, But the reality is that you can't go as far as to build the next Disney. Let's think the biggest you can, right? Unless you have people that you give full ownership over things. And that's it. You're faster by yourself, but you go further with people, right? And that's the principle I'm trying to apply now.
When you look back on the first couple years of Gamers 2, definitely some trials and tribulations, also some successes. Anything you would have done differently?
I always it's like when you're asking me this question, I can't compute the answer. Because I can't compute like going back and changing things, because I'm just the sum. Like right now, if you ask me, like this question to me could be replaced for tell me how do you feel right now, and I would say I'm feeling great. you know, which leads me to believe that I wouldn't change anything from the past, because what matters is now, right? If I won yesterday and now I feel like, well, that's pretty useless. I want to feel good now, and I want to raise trophies now. I want my teams to win now. I want the lineup change now. I want the content to be good now. I want everything now. That's why I'm not patient. My patience is not there. You know? My team hates it, but it's true. I want it now.
Interesting. Some people watching this might say, well, what about, like, you know, there's things in the past that happened in the early days of gamers too, LS being an example, right? When you look back on that now, knowing what you know, I guess that's what I was trying to get at. When you look back on moments like that, now having a few years as an executive and dealing with people, is there any part of you that would have dealt with that differently or looked at certain things under a different lens?
Again, like, I could go back and say, if current Carlos would have faced similar situations, which we do, now I do, would he have reacted differently? Yes, he would have, because I now know things that I didn't know back then. And what I can judge right now is, how is my relationship with LS right now? Fantastic. How is my relationship with the community right now? Fantastic. Do I sleep well at night and knowing that I'm not leaving corpses behind? Yes, I am. So that's the reality I face right now. But yeah, if you ask me if the current Carlos would face the same situations that he faced in the past right now, would he react differently? Absolutely. Especially choosing words. A lot of my issues as a player and as a team owner at the beginning came from not using the proper words. And a lot of it can be attributed, I don't want to excuse myself and shield myself against this fact, but with this fact, but it can be attributed to me being Spanish and a lot of things directly not translating in terms of language and culture as equally. A lot of things that you can say in Spain, you can't say anywhere else in the world. That is factual. Today it's correct. If you directly translate a lot of things that Spanish people say into English language, I would get destroyed. But these things people are saying nowadays on TV, and a lot of it can be attributed to language and culture barrier, and a lot of it can be attributed to lack of self-discipline and lack of how would you call it? Lack of
awareness?
Awareness, yes. Lack of self-awareness. So I think developing that self-awareness is super important for both ways, self-awareness of I'm going to carry myself everywhere I go, which is a good thing, and I should be confident about that, and the self-awareness of you're not perfect, you're not the number one. Maybe Elon Musk is the number one. Who are you comparing to, Sam Matthews or Elon Musk?
We talked about you at your lowest points. Let's now talk about the rebirth, so to speak, of Carlos and the reputation and the brand. When did you start feeling that you would get another chance and you felt like, I've done some good repair and I'm really on an upward trajectory here?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of my past career, especially the bad moments, those bad moments tainted a lot of the good moments, and I learned valuable lessons. The value of marketing. I don't believe anybody is as bad or as good people think. I know that because when people thought I was the best at everything, I knew I wasn't. And when people thought I was the worst at everything, I knew I wasn't. So I apply the same principle to everybody I see right now. Honestly, I tend to not overthink these things. If I up, then I I can go back. What's the best thing I could have done is not up. What's the second best thing I can do? Well, learn something and move on, right? That I can do. So I try to always play, and it's sometimes overly ruthless, especially when I discuss with my wife about some things, she tends to be a bit different, Sometimes I just want to hag. Sometimes I don't want you to give me your speech, I want you to just hag me. Don't say anything, right? And I want to hag her and fix whatever problem is there, it's not that bad because blah, blah, looking at the bright side of everything. Shut up, that's not what you want right now. So that lack of empathy, sometimes shows up by being overly ruthless, by fixing a problem, right? Sometimes you just have to hug somebody and just shut up. So the same way happens with these issues, And sometimes, instead, when you're overly optimistic and at the same time focused on the positives, when you up, you may commit the mistake of saying, well, I learned a lesson, I can just move on and do best I can from now on. When in reality, what the people just wanted to hear is a sorry. And then you can move on, right? Those are lessons you learn over time. Having, a family helps because it brings you to, we're not robots, we're humans, And sometimes a hug is all people need. Sometimes a sorry, an actual apology that you feel wholeheartedly is something you feel, it's something that they need, sorry. I guess those are the lessons that you learn over time. And now, again, if I look back into these moments, they were blown out of proportion for sure, but maybe the right thing to have done would have been to just say, hey, I f***ed up, listen up, I f***ed up. Everything you say right now, I get it. From now on, I'll try to learn this lesson and try to be better. Simple. Move on, acknowledge the mistake, move on. It's not even two bad things. Just apologize and move on. It's not that bad.
You're engaged, you have a child. How much perspective did that give you? How much did that change you as a person?
It taught me, when you have a bad day, whatever, you go home and you see your family, you're okay, it's not that bad after all, And when you have a great day, then you go home and you see your family, something happened, well, it's not that great after all, It's it's no longer a one-dimensional life. Now it's multi-dimensional. I come back from home, from work. I may have had a bad day. Everybody has bad days, maybe bad news. But then I come home and my son comes to me, always with this, the biggest smile, just running towards me, and he's like, "Papi, let's play," And I'm like, no energy at all, and I'm like, you know what? Let's play. And all of a sudden, I see myself just running around, sweating, and having a great time, So yeah, it's just, because you want him to grow happy and you want him to grow having his dad as a superhero, and stuff like that. So yes, it just helps. It really does help. It really does help. And when you talk with people, it doesn't matter how bad the things they did are. You always look at it from a different prism, Is prism the right word? It is, right? From a different angle, right? You're like, listen, this is what I would do differently, but I actually get your position. So now when I read hatred on Reddit, on Twitter, sometimes happens. Of course, I'm the owner of one of the largest teams. Of course, I get a lot of talking. I smile, but I don't smile out of spite. I don't even smile out of making feel bad for them either. I just smile and say, I get it, I get it. You're having a bad day maybe. I get it, I get it, I get it. It's okay. I'll try to get back your love another day.
As we talk right now, you're one of the most loved characters in esports, right? People think you're charismatic, you're funny. They love consuming your content. How much of what we see publicly is Ocelot, a character, versus Carlos, the real human?
Oh, there's no character anymore. There's just no character anymore. Right now, I'm so happy right now because the same person you see online is the same person I am. My wife.
Cameras are off. You meet you in the street. You're gonna be the same.
I'm gonna be the same jokes. I'm gonna be the same goofy guy. When I was a kid, I was always the clown of my class. I got kicked from class many times from doing jokes and from doing funny things.
Shocking.
Yeah, and the teachers, I remember this so accurately. Very often were actually laughing. You could see them laughing, but they had to kick me. They were forced to kick me because I was it was too much. You can't have that kid. He was gonna poison everything. Nobody's gonna learn anything. So at some point in my career, I sort of became too try-hard, and I was hiding. That's what society does. If you let it, society will eat you alive. It will eat your joy. I was making a fool out of yourself. My parents were telling me, making a fool out of yourself is a bad thing. F it. I'm the CEO of this company, and I make fun of myself all the time, and I make fun of you if I want to, and there's no harm. We both laugh. It's a good time, And I think embracing that inner, the way you are, is so simple. You're a funny dude, just embrace it. You like to make jokes, just embrace it. You like to laugh about yourself, just embrace it. Look at Conan O'Brien. That guy made a career out of laughing at himself. I think that's amazing. Most comedians do that, right? I love that.
Yeah.
And I always, and this is something I've come to understand actually relatively recently, that I am, like the way I am is, I'm an entertainer. I like to compete, I like to win, I love competition. But the reality is that if you would choose, do one thing for the rest of your life, it would be entertain. Competition is like a side hobby. I told you, maybe one day I'll do a comedy skit. I don't know. I don't know. I just love entertaining. I love giving people goosebumps. One day I want to produce like an animation, a Pixar level animation that gives people like goosebumps and like makes them feel a certain way. And another time I want to produce a whole movie that with a roller coaster of emotions as well. You know, that's so beautiful. You know, that's the way I see my job.
We were talking offline about you doing a one-man show. I think that would be a hit.
I don't know what it would be, but and also, you know what I found out recently? I actually can sing.
Oh, really?
I actually can sing.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Not just like I sing in the shower. Like
no,
you're
no,
actually
like,
pretty
like
good. Okay.
I did classes for the first time.
How did you discover this?
I don't know. I'm just, you know, this is what when things go well for you, you just get crafty. I don't know.
Okay.
I feel like I was like, I don't know, dude. I feel like.
Can you give us a few bars? Give us something.
No, I'm not feeling it. Maybe later.
It's like, don't worry. One day you'll see.
Maybe one day you'll see. But yeah, I you know, like I just love just doing things, you know, and like I don't know, dude. I feel good doing it. You know, when there's nobody at your home, what do you do? Oh, that sounds bad. When there's nobody at your home anymore, like so everybody leaves, what do? That is your hobby. That's what you should probably be doing more often. And for me, that has always been find some form of craft that entertains. Mm-hmm. Always. It would be singing. It would be maybe playing some instrument. It would maybe watching something that I can learn from. Like every time I watch a show, I don't watch a show to entertain myself. I'm like always like picking up ideas. That happens by default, and it happened when I was younger as well. Always, I was just taking notes. I remember of things that it wouldn't make any sense, like watching Big Brother and taking notes. Why would I take notes about this? Well, it just happened.
What would Carlos in 2020 say to Carlos in, say, 2014 or 2013?
You are a legend, and you also are a piece of both simultaneously at all times. Embrace that. On top of that, I'd say to him, you'd rather be who you are than somebody you look up to. Just honestly, just be who you are. Take the best things from your character and develop them. Focus on them, you know? Don't fear those things that you're not good at. If you have to get better at those because your role needs it, then just do it. If you don't have to do that and you can hire people to do them for you, hire the people. They're not your strengths, you don't enjoy them, just do it. It would have saved me some time if I would have done that. What else would I say to him? Back then, by 2014, I never thought I would have children, neither like a girlfriend. Like my wife is my first girlfriend.
Wow.
I never had a girlfriend before. It was always like just having fun, you know? Never thought I would commit to something. I don't know why, maybe I would fear, I don't know. But sort of taking that fear away, I would have told myself that as well. What else? A lot of things, man. It's like, it feels like if you would have asked this question about what would Carlos today tell Carlos yesterday, I think it would be just as long. Just as long. Because it's like things go, it's like there's a lot of stuff happening, you know? This is like 5 years ago, holy shit, 5 years ago. I can't even like comprehend what was going on back then. There's so much stuff happening that it feels like a week is like a month long. They always say when you have children, time flies. I don't know if that's true, dude. For me, time is like very, very slow, you know? I'm like, it feels like today already. Even today, it feels like 3 days already. all the morning doing things. I, had a meeting, then hit the gym, went to Starbucks, had a call, Jesus Christ. Then it's like, we're just getting started. And it's like, feels already like 3 days. So, honestly, actually, maybe let's find one thing, I'd say. One thing. Yeah, that contrast of confidence and humility. That's the best.
Let's end on this. You've talked about some of G2's plans in 2020, including the invasion of New York.
Mm-hmm.
When you think of the medium long-term plan for G2, whatever you can tell us, describe to us what yourself and G2, where it is, where the company is, what some successes are in the future.
Okay. Competitively speaking, we will remain as one of the, if not the, most successful across all top games. Throughout this year, we're arguably the second best on every top game, which makes the average make us become the absolute best team. So competitive success, keep it up. Branding and content creation, I want the brand to keep developing itself, and I want consistent brand attributes anywhere you go. Right now you go on Twitter and you see the G2 brand. You go on Instagram, you see the G2 brand. I want the same for everything we do, literally everything. I want you to listen to an interview with Caps, and I want you to see the G2 brand. And that is the next step, right? Number 3 is we have been historically very, very good at competitive and hardcore esports, but not very good at creators and sort of engaging with the non-hardcore audiences, right? And that's the next step, and we're going to be the best at it. So, and New York is going to play a pivotal role in that. We're going to have the greatest parties that esports has seen. We already had a couple of pilots in Berlin that there's like the mythology of the G2 party is around Europe right now. You will hear it. So the greatest parties, the greatest entertainment. And honestly, New York screams G2. That's what it is. Like when I come to the city and I just feel the city, it's just so G2. It's like I'm just imagining. It's very my brain works like a picture all the time. I just imagine the samurai just walking around New York, walking very fast, and just getting done, and everybody looking at him and maybe liking him, maybe hating him, but for sure looking at him. That's G2.
Carlos, this has been a lot of fun.
Hey, man, thanks. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much, man.